I'm Kelsey Fulton. I am in my second year of the MIT program at Georgia Southern University, and I currently teach third grade in Carroll County, Georgia. A little bit about my third grade class. I have 18 students. 10 are female, 8 are male. 10 are black, 5 are white, and 3 are Latinx. 13 come from lower income families, and 5 are lower middle income. 15 of my students, their home language is English, and 3, their home language is Spanish. I have 4 students with autism, 6 students with ADHD, 1 student with an intellectual disability, 2 students with specific learning disabilities, 4 students who attend a speech class outside of my classroom, and 2 students who are English language learners. Some challenging circumstances that a lot of my children are in. Like I said, most of my children are low income. That can really impact a lot of things. A lot of my students come to school pretty hungry, so that impacts their learning. Out of my 18 students, 14 of those students have parents who are not together. They live with one parent. I have 1 student who contact with one of their parents is strictly prohibited, and that really affects her learning at some times. I have 1 student with a mother who is chronically ill, and I have 2 students who experience homelessness or their families do not have permanent addresses. As far as funds of knowledge, my students, I have a lot of students who love drawing and coloring. There are a lot of artists in my classroom. I also have a big group who love making movies together, and that's usually what they're doing at recess. Most of my kids play video games, a lot of Roblox, a lot of Minecraft. They all love the show Bluey. And I have about 5 pretty serious football players, and overall, a lot of my students are very into sports. So that's a little bit about my students. I have created a digital learning day based on what they are currently learning at school, so this could be used tomorrow. We are going to follow our regular schedule of school, so that's how it's going to go, and I will jump. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. You are going to follow along to this video all day long. It might not take you all day long, and there are going to be some parts that you're going to pause and do some work for me, pause and think about some answers, and there are going to be some quizzes and little assessments that you'll complete for me. Okay, so we're going to start just like we would in school. We're going to start the morning with math. All right, and in math, we all know that we've been working on addition with regrouping. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of addition with regrouping practice. First, I'm going to go over a few examples, and then we're going to look at a little song, and you guys are going to get to practice yourself. Okay, so we need to remember that when we are doing addition with regrouping, we are taking, if an answer is 10 or more, we are taking those 10s and putting them in the next place value. Okay, so I'm going to do I'm going to do 2 examples with you, and we'll show 2 ways that you might complete this. Some people are going to complete it the first way, some people are going to complete it the second way. They both get you the right answer, so do it however you like. Okay, so first question, we have 743 plus 379. Okay, so first I'm going to use the first method. Okay, so I'm going to start with 3 plus 9. 3 plus 9, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so if I have more than 10, I have to take that 10 and put it in the tens place, right? So I'm going to put my 1 here to represent that, and I'm going to put my 2 down here to represent the 12 we just got. So then we have 1 plus 4 plus 7. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 again. So same thing. I'm going to put our 12s down in the tens place, and we're going to put our 1 in the hundreds place. All right, so now we have 1 plus 7 plus 3, right? So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so then my answer is 1,122. Okay, so then I'm going to do this a different way, and I'll do it over here because some of you like to do it a different way. Okay, so some of you like to do it like this. So I have 743. So I'm going to break these up into my hundreds, my tens, and my ones. So I have 700 plus 40 plus 3 is 743. Then I'm going to add to that my 300, my 70, and my 9. Okay, and then I'm going to add it all together. All right, so I want everyone to see this. So then I'm going to start the same way. I'm going to do 9 plus 3, 9, 10, 11, 12. We know that's 12. So we're going to put our 2 here. And we're going to take that 10 and put it here with our 10s. All right, so now I have 10 plus 40 plus 70. So 70 plus 40 is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 110. Plus 10 is 120. All right, so what we're going to do is just put our 20 and put our 100 over here. Okay, and then, we have our 100 plus our 700 plus our 300. 700 plus 300 we know is going to be 1,000. And we add 100, and that's going to be 1,100. All right, so now we bring down our addition signs. Now we have 1,100 plus 20 plus 2, and that will give us 1,122. All right, so we get the same answer. So it really doesn't matter which way you want to do it. You can do it whichever way makes the most sense to you. Okay, so I'm going to do one more question for practice to make sure we have this down. So we have done this in class. We have gone over this. So this is mostly a review, but I want to make sure that you know exactly what you should be doing. So our next question, we're going to do 621 plus 326. All right. Okay, actually, we're going to do, okay, so our next question is going to be 867 plus 426. So if you want, you should get a piece of paper and you can follow along with me so that the steps I'm doing, you're seeing them in front of you with your own hands, practicing them. Okay? So let's practice. 7 plus 6 is, we know 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 1 is we're going to have 13. All right, so we're going to put that 10 up here, represented by the 1, and we're going to put our 3 in our 1's place. All right, and then 6 plus 1 plus 2. 6 plus 1 is 7, plus 2 is 9. And then 8 plus 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then we get 1293, right? 1,293. So let's do this the other way. So if you prefer to do it the other way, now you can start writing it this way for practice. Okay, so we have 867. That is going to be 800 plus 60 plus 7. And we're going to add that to 400 plus 20 plus 6. Okay, so we have 7 plus 6, which we know is 13. So we're going to put our 3 in our 1's place, and we're going to take this whole 10 and add it here. Then we have 10 plus 60 plus 20. So 10 plus 60 is 70, plus 20 is 90. We're going to bring down our addition signs. And then 800 plus 400. If we know 8 plus 4 is 12, then we know 800 plus 400 is 1200. Okay, so now we have 1200 plus 90 plus 3. We're going to bring this down and make it 1293. And then we get the same answer, but just a different way. So you can do these either way. And now I want you to go for our next thing. We're going to watch an addition song. And this song is going to help you think about how are you using regrouping, how to use regrouping if it's new to you, and just a little bit of practice with addition. So I'm going to show you how you're going to do that. You are going to go to our Google Classroom. Okay, here's Miss Fulton's Google Classroom. And you're going to okay, so we're going to our Google Classroom, and then I want you to scroll down until you see the math regrouping song. Okay, so click on our math regrouping song. You're going to watch it on YouTube.
Okay, class, who would like to do 3 on the board?
Okay, and you can watch that in your own time, all right? Okay. Okay, so now that you have watched our math regrouping song and you've seen a little bit of practice from me of regrouping with addition, you are going to do a little bit of practice yourself. So I'm going to hold up some questions and I want you to complete them on your own. Okay, so when I hold these up, I'm going to hold these up and then I want you to copy these down. So you can pause the video now and copy these down. Okay, so hopefully you have unpaused by now, and we're going to look at the answers. So our first question was 597 plus 911. And the answer you should have gotten is 1,508. Okay, so I want you to check your work. If you are correct, that's awesome. I'm so proud of you. If you're not correct, that's okay too, because maybe you just made a very small mistake, and I want you to go back and check your work, okay? So just try again, and you can do it. All right, and our next question was 189 plus 985, and you should have gotten 1,174. And our next question, 423 plus 167 equals 590. Okay, I hope everyone got these correctly, and I hope that if not, that you're going to practice with them and make sure you know exactly how to get the right answer. Okay, so you can rewatch where I demonstrated how to find the answers, and I think that might help you if you had trouble finding these answers. Okay, now we're moving on to science. So for science, we've been learning about rocks, and we've been learning about the properties of rocks, right? So the rock properties we're going to work on the color. So color, that's pretty easy. We know the color of a rock. Maybe it's brown, maybe it's gray, maybe it's yellow and pink, maybe it's purple, right? You guys know how to find the color. That's a pretty simple one, okay? And then remember, the next thing we worked with was finding the hardness of a rock. So if you're looking for the hardness of a rock, you're going to give me a number between 1 through 10. 10 means it's a very hard rock and it cannot be scratched. You can't scratch it no matter what you're trying. It doesn't scratch. And number 1 is you can scratch it pretty easily. It's almost falling apart. Okay, so I want you to see that if you can scratch a rock with your fingernail, it's going to be about a 2. If you can scratch it with a penny, it will be about a 3 or a 4. If you can scratch it with a knife, maybe about a 5. And a nail, it's going to be about a 6 or 7. And then past that, if you have a very hard rock, you might need a drill bit. So we're going to work with rocks today, but I want you to get your parents' help because some of these things, like a knife or a nail, might be very dangerous. So when we work with our own rocks, this is going to be parent and student work. Okay, and then luster. So we're going to look at the rock and see, is it dull, not shiny at all? Is it glassy, which means like it seems like you can almost look straight through it? Or is it pearly, which if anyone's seen a pearl, they kind of glow, they look so pretty and sparkly, but not see-through like a glassy one might be. All right, and then we're going to look at the texture. So is it a bumpy rock like this one, or is it a smooth rock that barely has any edges? All right, so first I want you to go back to our Google Classroom, and you're going to find the Brain Pop video about rock properties. Okay, so you're going to watch that and then come back to our video here. Okay, now that you have watched the Brain Pop video, I want you to go back to our Google Classroom, and right underneath the Brain Pop video, you can find a rock properties worksheet. So this is what the worksheet looks like. You're going to draw a picture of your rock. You're going to put what kind of luster it has. Is it dull, glassy, or pearly? You're going to decide on the hardness from 1 to 10. You're going to tell me what the color is and the texture. Is it bumpy or smooth? So for this, I need you to go out in your yard and I need you to go out in your yard with your parents and you're going to find a rock. It can be any rock. It can be an ugly rock. It can be a pretty rock. It can be any sort of rock you can find. I know you can find some sort of rock somewhere outside. Okay, so you're going to find a rock, and with your parent, you are going to go through the properties of a rock worksheet and fill it in. All right, so I went out into my yard and I found this rock. Okay, and I'm going to fill out my properties of a rock worksheet. All right, so first I'm going to draw my rock. So this is what my rock looks like. And I'm going to roughly kind of draw a picture of it. And I would like for you to look at it closely, get the shape of it down, and then color it. Okay, so color it, make it the color that you want it to be. So there's just a rough picture of my rock. And then I'm going to look at the luster. So let's go back to our luster slides. And the luster. So we have dull, glassy, or pearly. So if you can see my rock, you can kind of tell it's pretty dull. All right, it's very dull. It's not glassy. You can't really see through it. It's not shiny like a pearly one might be. It's pretty dull. So right here under luster, I'm going to write dull. Okay, and then I'm going to check the hardness. So the hardness, let's go back to our slide on hardness, and we're going to see. So now we're looking at the hardness, and the first thing we want to do is check the fingernails. Can we scratch it with our fingernails? So I am going to try to scratch it with my fingernails. And I'm not sure if you can see, but it's not scratching. Okay, so if it does not scratch, you're going to go to the next step, which is going to be a penny, right? It must be a copper penny, okay? So I'm going to take my penny and my rock, and I'm going to scratch. And it doesn't really seem like it's scratching to me, not really. So I'm going to move to the next step, which is a knife. Okay, so I have a knife. This is where you definitely need your parents' help. Okay, maybe your parents can do this for you and you just observe. That would be great. All right, so we're going to take our knife and scratch. And it is scratching a little. It is scratching. So can you see these scratch marks? So my rock scratches at a knife level. So mine does scratch at a knife level, and knife is right here between 5 and 6, so I'm going to give it about a 5.5, right? 5.5 for hardness. Okay, and then we're going to move on to the color. So I just want to look at my rock, and I want to see the color. It's pretty much brown, right? So I'm going to write brown. Brown. And then last is the texture. So my rock does have some bumpy spots right here on the edge, but overall everywhere else feels very smooth. So I'm gonna say it's a pretty smooth rock. So you would write bumpy or smooth, and I'm going to write smooth. All right. All right, so you are finishing this with your parents, and when you're finished with this worksheet, you're going to turn it in to me. You can take a picture of it and send it to me. So if you do not have a printer to print this worksheet, you can easily just do this worksheet on any piece of paper. Just draw a picture of your rock, write the luster, the texture, the color, and the hardness of your rock, okay? It does not have to be this actual worksheet. Okay, so at this point, you should pause this video and get to work on your rock experiment. Okay, now we are moving on to social studies. So for social studies, we have been learning about landforms, right? So let's do a review of some landforms. So we first have the ocean. The ocean is a very large body of water, right? So when you go to the beach, you're at the ocean. The ocean goes for a long, long time. You cannot see the end of it, right? And our second one is a lake. A lake is a small body of water with land all around it. So if you're at a lake, most lakes you will be able to see the land around it. Some lakes are very large and you might not see all the edges, but you will see that there's land around the lake. All right, and then we have river. So a river is going to be a line of water. So it might be curvy, it might be straight, but it's a line streaming down is a river, okay? So a lake might be a large body of water that's sitting still, and a river is a line of water that is moving constantly. Then we have an island. So an island is a piece of land with water all around it, okay? So an island is going to be off of the mainland in the middle of the ocean usually. And then we have mountain. A mountain is a tall piece of land with steep sides, okay? So this is what our mountain might look like. It might have a snowy top, it might not. It might have trees all the way to the top. It might have just rocks. So mountains can look a lot of different ways, but they are always going to be a tall piece of land and usually have very steep sides. All right, and then we have a plateau, which is just like a mountain, but the top is completely flat. So it's an area of land that's higher than the land around it, but has a flat top. And then we have a hill. A hill is a small mound of land. So most of you have seen a hill. Even if you've never seen a mountain or plateau in person, you've probably seen a hill, maybe in your backyard, right? So a hill is just a small mound of land. And then we have a plain. A plain is flat, open land. So usually it's a grassy area where as far as you can see is just flat. Okay, so now I want you to review even further, and you're going to go back to our Google Classroom again. All right, and on our Google Classroom, you're going to go to the landforms video. All right, so it's about 8 minutes long. It's an 8-minute long video, and you're going to watch all about landforms. Okay, so when you're done with that video, the next thing you need to do is a landforms quiz on Nearpod. And I have put that link also in our Google Classroom, so I will show you that. So once you are done with this video, you're back in our Google Classroom, and you can see the landforms Nearpod. All right, so you're going to click on the Nearpod link. And if you are on your school computers, they will automatically sign you in. You will use your school email to sign in. All right, so here we have different landforms, and I'll just roughly show you how it's going to look. So you're looking at the different landforms, and then this is asking you to draw a check mark next to all of the landforms you visited. So I did my check marks. I have been to all of these except a plateau. I have never seen a plateau, so I did a check for each of the other ones. And then here, I drew a rough line, but here you're going to draw a line from the picture and name of a landform to the definition of a landform. And on the next page, you'll be able to check your answers. And then I want you to draw a picture of a landform and you traveling across it. And how would you get there? What would you do? Just a kind of a rough picture of you in the landform. Okay, so you can pause this video now to do that. Okay, now we are in our language arts time. So today we're going to talk about nouns and verbs. Right, which we have learned about nouns and verbs, so this should mostly be a review, but you guys need a little extra help, right? So we're going to review today, do some activities with nouns and verbs, and I think that you guys will be golden with nouns and verbs after this. Okay, so as a review, a noun is a person, place, thing, or idea, and a verb is an action. So a verb is what you do, what someone is doing, what something is doing. It is an action word. Right? Some sort of action is happening. So now we're going to do a little review called noun or verb. So I'm going to say a word, and I want you to think for a second. I'm going to pause, and I want you to think, is this a noun or a verb? And then I'm going to tell you what it is, so I want you to check yourself and tell me. All right? So what I'm going to do is write them here. So I'd love for you to get your own piece of paper and write noun and write verb and draw a line in the middle. And then when you hear my word, I'd like for you to write it down where you think it's going to go. Okay? So our first word is sit. All right, so you should have written down sit somewhere, and it should be in the verb list. Sit is a verb. Sit is something you do, or maybe a dog does. Which brings me to my next word, which is dog. All right, so write dog where you think dog should go. And I put dog under noun. A dog is a person, place, thing, or idea, definitely, right? So we have dog is a noun. Our next one is Minecraft. Minecraft. Is Minecraft a verb or a noun? Write it down. Right? Minecraft is a noun. It is a thing. It's a game you play, right? So our next word is play. Is play a verb or a noun? Right? Play is a verb. So you play Minecraft, right? Perfect. Okay, our next one is iPad. Is iPad a noun or a verb? Right. iPad is a noun. It is a thing. Our next one. Okay, I'm going to do a few more. You write them down and then we'll check them at the end. So our next one is read. Is read a noun or a verb? And then we have football. Is football a noun or a verb? And then Miss Fulton. Is Miss Fulton a noun or a verb? And jump. Is jump a noun or a verb? All right, so let's check those four. So first we had read. Read should be under verb, something you do. And then we had football. Football is a noun, it's a thing. And Miss Fulton is a person, so that is a noun. And jump. Jump is a verb. Something you do is a verb. All right, so these, you should have the same list as me. You can pause it for a second to see and make sure you have the same answers as me. Okay, and then we are going to work on a noun or verb worksheet. So this worksheet is located in our Google Classroom, just like all of our other resources. So we are going in our Google Classroom and we are looking for our noun or verb worksheet. It is right here. And you're going to fill out this worksheet with your answers. So the underlined word, you are going to write either noun or verb about the underlined word. Okay, so at this point you should pause this video and be working on that worksheet. Okay, once you have finished that worksheet and you have unpaused the video, you should check your answers here. All right, and you can pause again to make sure you have all the correct answers. If you have incorrect answers, I want you to check back and see if you know why you got the answer wrong and how next time you would better understand the answer. Okay, so here are the answers. Once you get all of those answers, you can unpause the video and we will move on. We're going to start on reading. So today for reading, we are going to read The Name Jar by Young Suk Choi. Okay, so I'm going to make my screen a little bigger so you can see me. And I am going to read this book to you. And then afterwards, you're going to answer some questions about the book. So make sure you're paying attention. Okay, so The Name Jar by Young Suk Choi. Through the school bus window, Eun-hye looked out at the strange buildings and houses on the way to her new school. It was her first day, and she was both nervous and excited. She fingered the little block of wood in her pocket and remembered leaving her grandmother at the airport in Korea. Her grandmother had wiped away Eun-hae's tears and handed her an ink pad and a small red satin pouch. "Your name is inside," she had said. "My name?" Eun-hae had wondered. Again, she took out the red pouch to look at the wooden block with her name carved in it. As she ran her fingers along the grooves and ridges of the Korean characters, she pictured her grandmother's smile. "Is that thing for show and tell?" a boy asked Eun-hae, surprising her. Eun-hae looked up at more as more kids leaned over. "No, it's mine," Eun-hae answered, quickly putting the pouch back in her pocket. Are you new here? What's your name? A girl asked. Eunhye, said Eunhye. Une, the girl asked, scrunching up her face. Ooh, ooh, Une, some kids chanted. No, no, Eunhye corrected. It's spelled Unhei. It's pronounced Eunhye. Oh, it's you, hey, the boy said. Like you, hey. What about hey you? Just then, the bus pulled up to the school and the doors opened. Eunhye hurried to get off. You hey, bye-bye, the kids yelled as she left. Eunhye felt herself blush. Eunhye stood in the doorway of her new and noisy classroom. She was relieved that the kids on the bus had gone to other rooms, but her face still felt red. Aren't you going in? Asked a curly-haired boy with dots on his face. You're the new girl, right? He asked cheerfully. Eunhye nodded, and before she could walk away, the boy took her hand and pulled her through the door. Here's the new girl, he announced so loudly that the teacher, Mr. Cockatoos, almost dropped his glasses. Mr. Cockatoos thanked him and greeted Eunhye. Please welcome our newest student, he said to the class. She and her family just arrived from Korea last week. Eunhye smiled broadly and tried not to show her nervousness. What's your name? Someone shouted. Eunhye pictured the kids on the bus. I haven't picked one yet, she told the class, but I'll let you know next week. As Mr. Cockatoos showed her to her desk, she felt many round, curious eyes on her. Why doesn't she have a name? She heard someone whisper. Maybe she robbed a bank in Korea and needs a new identity, a boy replied. On the bus home, nobody teased her, but Eunhye kept thinking about her name. How was school, Eunhye? Her mother asked when she walked in. Did you understand the teacher? Eunhye simply nodded. She unpacked her school bag and set the red pouch by a photograph of her grandma. I'm glad you're learning English well, her mother said. You must study hard, behave nicely, and get good grades to show that you're a good Korean. I will, replied Eunhye. But I think I would like my own American name, she said quickly. Her mother looked at her with surprise. Why? Eunhye is a beautiful name. Your grandma and I went to a name master for it. But it's so hard to pronounce, Eunhye complained. I don't want to be different from all the American kids. You are different, Eunhye, her mother said. That's a good thing. Eunhye just wrinkled her nose. Later that day, Eunhye and her mother went grocery shopping in their new neighborhood. They passed Fidil's Falafel, Tony's Pizza, and Dot's Deli. A big graffiti-painted garage truck roared like a lion as it took off down the street. Nothing sounded or looked familiar until they got to Kim's Market. The sign was in both English and Korean. Her mother picked up cabbage to make kimchi, Korean-styled pickled cabbage, and other vegetables and meat. She also found some seaweed, Eunhye's favorite for soup. It made Eunhye smile. Just because we've moved to America, her mother said, doesn't mean we stop eating Korean food. At the checkout counter, a friendly man smiled at Eunhye. Helping your mother with the shopping, he asked. Eunhye nodded. I'm Mr. Kim, he said. And what is your name? Eunhye, she answered. Oh, what a beautiful name, he said. Doesn't it mean grace? Eunhye nodded again. My mother and grandmother went to a name master for it, she told him. A graceful name for a graceful girl, Mr. Kim said as he put their groceries into bags. Welcome to the neighborhood, Eunhye. That evening, Eunhye stood in front of the bathroom mirror. Hi, my name is Amanda, she said cheerfully. Then she wrinkled her nose. Hi, my name is Laura. Maybe not. Her smile turned down. Nothing sounded right. Nothing felt right. I don't think American kids will like me, she worried as she began brushing her teeth. Hi, my name is Snoozy, she said in the mirror with her mouth full of toothpaste. The next morning, when Eunhye arrived at school, she found a glass jar on her desk with some pieces of paper in it. Eunhye took one out and read it aloud. Daisy. That's my baby sister's name, but she said you can use it if you want, said Cindy, who sat next to her. Eunhye took out the rest of the paper. Tamala, she read. I got it from a storybook, said Nate. She was smart and brave. Eunhye nodded and unfolded another piece. Wednesday? Yeah, you came here on Wednesday, said Ralph. Thank you for your help. A smile spread over Eunhye's face. Ralph quickly said, We'll put more names on it. You can pick whatever you like, or pick them all, and you'll have the longest name in history. At 3 o'clock, the bell rang for the end of the school day. Eunhae looked out the window and saw it was sprinkling. It's the same rain, she thought, but in a different place. She watched other kids leaving in groups. Hey, a familiar voice called out to her. Eunhae turned around to see the curly-headed boy again. I'm Joey, he said. And you? Don't you have any name? Eunhae thought for a moment. Well, I can show you, she said, and she took out her small red pouch. She pressed the wooden block on the ink pad and stamped it on a piece of paper. This is my name stamp, she said. My grandma gave it to me. In Korea, I can use it as a signature when I open a bank account or write a letter. And whenever I miss my grandma, I use it to fill a piece of paper. Want to try it? She offered the stamp to Joey, and he carefully inked the stamp and pressed it hard on the paper. The red characters gleamed against the whiteness. Wow, that's beautiful, Joey said. Can I keep the paper? Sure, Eunhae said. And then the two of them shared her umbrella as they walked to the school bus. Every day, the jar got fuller with more names, and Eunhae read them all. She found a few names she liked. Miranda, Stella, Avery. They sounded interesting. I hope you choose the name I put in, Marco told her at snack time. I've put in 3 more, said Ralph. Madison, Park, and Lex. They're my favorite street names. Maybe you should close your eyes and draw a name, Rosie suggested. Ralph frowned. That's silly. What if she doesn't like the name she draws? Well, we didn't get to choose our names when we were born, did we? Rosie argued. Everyone thought about this. When Eunhae got home from school that day, her little brother ran to give her a letter. It was from her grandma. She opened it quickly. It said, To my Eunhae, I hope you are enjoying your new school and new friends. Be sure to help your mother and your little brother. Here the moon is up, but there the sun is up. No matter how far apart we are, and no matter how different America is from Korea, you'll always be my Eunhae. Your grandma forever. Eunhae took out her wooden stamp and filled a paper with it. She thought for a long time in front of the bathroom mirror. On Saturday, Eunhae walked to Mr. Kim's store. Mr. Kim was helping a customer, but he looked up and greeted her. Hi, Eunhae. Hello, Mr. Kim, Eunhae replied. She felt as if she was back in her old neighborhood in Korea. Hey, said the customer, turning around. It was Joey. Your name is Eunhee? He asked her with eyes open wide. Eunhae looked quickly at Mr. Kim, then turned to Joey. She nodded slowly. Yes, it's pronounced Eunhae. And it means grace, Mr. Kim added. Eunhae, Joey said slowly, and this time perfectly. It made Eunhae smile. I'll have it ready for you tomorrow, said Mr. Kim to Joey. Thank you, Mr. Kim. See you Monday, Eunhae, Joey said to her. He left before she could ask him why he was at the store. On Monday, Eunhae came to class early to look at the names one last time. But the jar wasn't on her desk. Instead, there was just a simple piece of paper with a name on it. Eunhae slipped it in her pocket. Where's your name jar? Ralph asked as soon as he saw it was gone. I don't know, Eunhae said. It wasn't on Mr. Kakato's desk or on any other desk, and it wasn't on the counters or any of the shelves. As other kids arrived, they helped look. Soon, Mr. Kakato's came in, and Ralph shouted at him, The name jar is gone, the jar with all the names on it. Gone, Mr. Kakato's replied. With a look of concern, he asked Eunhae, Did you get a chance to read all the names? Eunhae nodded. She took a breath. I'm ready to introduce myself, she said. Eunhae wrote her name in both English and Korean on the chalkboard. I liked the beautiful names and the funny names you thought of for me, she told the class, but I realized that I liked my name best, so I chose it again. Korean names mean something. Eunhae means grace. Grace! Grace, Eunhae! Shouted Ralph. Everyone tried to say it. Eunhae, Eunhae, Eunhae. Eunhae said her name again slowly and clearly. Soon the kids began to say it better, even Mr. Kakato's. They applauded Eunhae's choice. I was named after a flower, Rosie whispered to Eunhae. Lots of American names have meanings too, Mr. Kakato's reminded everyone. When the class was dismissed, Eunhae heard her new friends say goodbye. Bye, Eunhae. See you tomorrow. Goodbye, Eunhae. Eunhae said goodbye and then looked around for Joey, but he was already gone. Eunhae, Eunhae, come downstairs. Mother called for Eunhae. Your friend is here. Eunhae rushed down to see who she meant. There stood Joey, and in his arms was the name jar. Where did you find it? Asked Eunhae breathlessly. Joey looked embarrassed. Well, I took it, but only because I wanted you to keep your own name, and you did. He reached in and pulled out the names. Do you want to keep them? He asked. Thank you. I'll keep them as a souvenir, Eunhee said happily. Then she pulled out the piece of paper from her pocket. Do you want this back? Joey grinned. You can keep it. I'll return the name jar to the class. Maybe you could put some Korean names in it for us. Names with good meanings. I could do that, said Eunhee. I've already got a Korean nickname, Joey said. Mr. Kim helped me choose it. Carefully, he pulled a small silver felt pouch from his pocket. Then he took out a dark wooden stamp with beautiful Korean characters carved sharply into it. He pressed it on the ink pad and then on the piece of paper next to her name. Chingu, read Eunhee. That means friend. And Chingu smiled back. The end. Okay, so now that you have read this book, now that we have read this book, I want you to now do the name jar quiz. So you're going to go back to our Google Classroom, and the last thing you need to find is this link to quizzes. And when you get here, you will start your name jar quiz. So it will ask you questions like, why was Eunhee nervous for school? Where is Eunhee from? Why was Joey such a good friend? All right, so I want you to think about those questions as you're answering them, and then I will get a report of how many you get correct or incorrect, okay? And you can always go back and listen to me read it again. Okay, so that is all we have for today. Please send all of the worksheets you finish. Please send me a picture of those. Check your own work where necessary. And have a good day. Bye-bye.